So without further ado, if you can give him a big round of applause, Raj Kotecha, who's going to blow your mind with the 4 Ps. Okay, over to you.
Hi everyone, how you doing? How's everyone doing? Let me just ask you before I kind of share what I'm going to share today. Do you prefer this or do you prefer this? The mic. Okay, good. Just so I know, because I heard it going up and down a little bit. So, as Greg mentioned, thank you, Greg. Greg is one of those dudes that if he says to me like, "I need you to show up somewhere," I'm absolutely going to show up for him. He is as great as people say he is. So, very, very, very glad to be here and be here amongst all you guys. It's also incredible after the last couple of years we've had for me to spend a bit of time public speaking again, and the gap between when I was speaking really, really often, which was weekly, monthly, to now has been a long gap, and a lot of stuff has happened. So before I get into what's happened and how you can kind of convert a really solid content strategy, because I know a lot of you put your hands up and said, I am my own brand, I have my own business, how you can convert that into revenue and profit for yourself, I really want to just give a little bit of a background to myself. 30 seconds. Greg mentioned a couple of thought leaders, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee. These are all guys that I've shot. Gary Vee's a very good friend of mine. I was with him last week. And my mentor, who I started working with in 2008. And I've been obsessed with content from 10 years even prior to that, because I started my career as a street promoter. I used to hand out flyers and go up to women way out of my league, many of which are in the room right now, and give them flyers and be like, will you come to my party? It's £3 to get in. And then I'd play soul and funk all night, Aretha and Aaliyah and Blackstreet and all that kind of stuff. But that helped me learn the value of good content. The content story started way before Facebook, way before MySpace, way before the internet. The content story started on the inside of pyramids. You can still go and see the original social media where people would gather and look at the etchings on the wall. And from there to the Metaverse, which I believe someone's going to teach you about in a little while, not much has changed. And we now live in this incredible world where we've gone back to the fundamentals. We've gone back to not worrying about hashtags, not stressing out about what time of day should I post or what platform should I post on, or even do I look good on camera. These things don't matter anymore, guys, because we've just gone through an incredible pandemic where we've had to reset and rethink about everything. I want you to think about this for a second. In the last 2 years, we've seen major broadcast networks, these are people that make content for a living, CNN, NBC, MSNBC, bringing people in to interview via Zoom in their studio. The same Zoom that we use at 1 minute past 9 whilst we're still wiping stuff out of our eyes, trying to be there and present on the meeting. The world of content today has gone from hi-fi to lo-fi to no-fi. Even when people see this video, which we're making right now, on my YouTube channel, I'm not gonna look the best. I might even look like Satan, to be honest. A compact version of Satan with a ponytail. And even though it's gonna be grainy, because some of the stuff that I'm sharing today and some of the perspective I'm hoping to share with you is valuable, all of the rest of the stuff doesn't matter as much. We're now beyond, I wanna start a podcast, but I don't know what mic to get. I wanna start a vlog, but I don't know what camera to get. We're beyond that, guys. It doesn't matter anymore. If you've got something to say and you've got some value to offer, if you can create some good content, and if you're not a good content creator, you can maybe curate content, you can go over all of the stuff that you're consuming anyway and choose when to share it on your Instagram, on your TikTok, on your LinkedIn. Or you can collaborate, which means you might see yourself as not the strongest creator in the world, and you sync up with somebody who is, or somebody who's on your level, and if you're a 6 out of 10, and somebody else is a 7 out of 10, combined, the one piece of content you make is gonna be better than what you might be able to make by yourself. We've seen this for a long time. We've seen a model who doesn't know how to shoot him or herself collaborating with a photographer who doesn't want to be shot on camera. This is the way that you hack content. Now, I've worked with all of these guys. I've worked with some of the biggest content creators in the world, and I'm very fortunate in my agency, the Creative Content Agency, which we registered back in 2006, when I used to walk into businesses like KPMG and Deloitte and say the word content and they would scratch their head. They'd have no idea what the word content was. We've worked with some of these people, and here's some of the conclusions we've made as a result of uploading tens of thousands of hours of content from New York, LA, Australia, working with rappers, working with business people, entertainers, TV stars, now even sports stars. Here's what I've learned. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo in the market. It's not nice if you started your career pre-social media. Just by raise of hands, I'm part of that community. Who started their career pre-social media? Who was earning a salary before MySpace? So it's not nice, fair. It's not nice to be told, okay, but you know, what you're gonna write in your descriptions? Will it be SEO optimized? Will it be read properly on Google? What hashtags do you wanna use? What time of day do you wanna post it? Is it better to go this way on TikTok or this way on LinkedIn? It's a bit overwhelming. But as a result of making that content over and over and over again, here's the conclusion I've come to. When I made my first website for this business 10, 15 years ago, I put up a basic website, and then the business grew. And so we've all been there. We've had to update our website to be a true reflection of what it is that we do. And at that time, I created new page and about us, and I was like, shit, how do I say what it is that we do? And at that time, I pulled up all of my invoices and all of my clients' YouTube channels and all of their content and their Facebook and everything else that was popping at the time. And I looked over every single case study. And I realized that the same thing, the same actions on our part to give them the results that we did in terms of building their brand and helping them drive revenue and sales came down to one of 4 buckets. So we can talk meta tags, we can talk YouTube, we can talk high definition, we can talk this microphone. All content, no matter what, comes down to 4 variables, which I call the 4 P's of content, which is plan, produce, publish, and promote. So plan, what do you want to do, what you're prepared to invest to get there, and what's considered a good result. Having an idea of what that is before you pick up a microphone or switch the selfie camera on. Produce. Now, today you can produce content for the metaverse if you want, but it might not necessarily get you an immediate ROI in the next quarter or between now and the end of the year. So the majority of stuff that is going to drive results for your personal brand or for your business still remains as it has been for the last couple of years: video, audio, graphics, and text. Once you've planned what you want to make and you've produced it, you then have to publish it. And this is the reason why I'm saying we're in a post-platform era when it comes to content. You can take the same piece of content that you've made custom for Instagram, put it over on TikTok. TikTok's algorithm, which is the thing that decides who consumes your content, is very, very generous at the moment, and use the same piece of content on both platforms until you realize that which platform it is that's doing better for you, and then you start to double down and invest on what works. Greg's financial trader mentality works here. If something's working on social media, do more of it, double down. If it's not, you can always pull away. So now you've planned your content, you've produced it, now you've published it. When you publish something, most times it generates a URL online. It generates a link to a YouTube, to a LinkedIn post, a blog, or whatever. The question then is, plan, produce, publish, promote. How do you then promote the real eyeballs, the real flesh and bone people that walk around the earth that are not always looking in their phone, although it's taking up a lot of mind share? How do you drive eyeballs and human beings to that content? Of those things, I can tell you that most people can get to putting some content online. They don't know then necessarily how to drive eyeballs to it. And if you're in the B2B world, just by raise of hands, who does B2B? Who's trying to get money from other businesses? Who's in the B2C world? A few more, okay. In all cases, you need a human being to go and consume your content. And so the way that we roll this out with our clients, like I don't know if some of you probably heard of Spencer Lodge. He was one of our big successes in the region. He's actually shooting a podcast with Stephen Bartlett this week and Lewis Howes. We started him on that podcast, that Spencer Lodge podcast that's had Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins and all that. That all came from inside our little incubator. That's something that everybody in this room can do. And some people will be like, yeah, but there's so many podcasts at the moment. Why do I want to launch my podcast talking about what I know? It's because you're not out here trying to be the next Joe Rogan or Call a Daddy. You're not trying to sell your podcast to the next big podcast network like Spotify. What you're trying to do is find another way to serve the 30 or 100 people that make a difference in your business. Does that make sense? There are so many content creators that I know in the B2B world that have no interest in fame. They just want to make their wallet sing. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about being the hottest girl or guy in the city. It's about adding more value to the people that already follow you. I would never get a tattoo because I'm way too much of a pussy. But I've always said this, water inside your plant pot, make that original plant grow, and then let the seeds fall off that and do what it does. Everyone's so obsessed with using content to build the top of the funnel and go and acquire new eyeballs, and they get frustrated when they realize that those eyeballs are currently being divided between the Beatles' greatest hits, which is also something you can see on your phone, something crazy that Donald Trump or Kanye West said, or the latest version of the latest product that's just been released on social media. That 5.5 inches on your screen is a digital democracy. Every single pixel is its own little mini war ground where you've got to fight for attention. And you don't want to do that fight. You don't want to try and win that fight. What you want to do is be like, okay, look, I've got 17 clients. I've got 64 clients. Do I give them brochures? Yes. Do I make a point to give them 3 or 4 business cards when I see them? Yes. Then why not make content? Because it is way easier for them to go into their WhatsApp, see a video that you directly message to them, push their finger down on it and hit forward. I've made content with Greg in the past. You'd think that his looks drove a lot of the content, but actually he's incredibly smart. And when people wanted to get some information about South African tax law, something happened in that world, I don't know what it is, but it made it so much easier for me to go through Greg's YouTube and just flick that on. But it's not like a brochure where it's just two-dimensional. The actual personality shines through as well. And so now I've said a 5th word, which somebody pitched me only yesterday. They said, the 5th P should be personality. How can you plan, produce, publish, and promote content if you've not got the kind of personality to put it across? Now, not everyone's going to be like incredibly handsome and charismatic like I am, and they can just jump up here and explain it to you. Some people aren't born with that gift. I also wasn't born with height, so don't cry for me, okay? It all evens out in the end. You don't necessarily need personality. One of the biggest pieces of content that we consume on a day-to-day basis, in fact, I would say you probably consume this piece of content, if you're a busy person, about 45 to 87 times a day, and it has no personality. What is it? If you answer it, I'll go into my car, and I'll get you a 4 Ps plan, produce, publish, promote mug, of which there's only like 65. And I was gonna keep it free, but right? So you can have the mug. Who can think of what that piece of content is? More boring than emails, more practical than SMS. Even more important than WhatsApp. It's a piece of information you can't live without, even though you get it every single day. No one's seeing my little I know some of you people do NLP. She said it, yeah? What's your name? Sarah said it. Watch. This is a piece of content. We go to it over and over again, and it remains as valuable every time we go to it than the time before. Time before, nice pun. Okay, write that one down. We should use that in future talks. So content sits above social media. It doesn't matter how do you optimize your podcast, how do you optimize your YouTube channel. You use YouTube to get good at YouTube the same way that you use YouTube to get good at everything else that you're on a learning curve about. So, I think I put my thesis across there. The initial run of content, which was, started around 2002 to 2002, 2003 was when MySpace happened. We're now in 2022. Technically, and this is going to make you throw up, but we're entering the 3rd decade of social media this year. You have not missed out. You can be a leader and a pioneer, and you could have started then. That would have been the best time to start. The second best time is now. But there's a difference in strategic advantage of being a follower. Because now you can look at what somebody's doing in your industry in a more mature market, like the United States or the UK or wherever it is that your market's already a little bit ahead. Figure out what they're doing, and just being the Dubai version of that is enough of an arbitrage to get people to want to find out more about you. Because no matter what you do, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, in the first 6 months to 12 months of your content journey, whether you're good, whether you're shit, it doesn't really matter. You're playing the know, like, and trust game. Can I put out enough content so that people know who I am? Like, they see the name Raj Kotecha and they picture this face. Then, can they like me? Which means when they pull those 2 data points up, name and face, do they think about that person in a positive way? And then trust, which is, now we're entering credit card territory. Like, would I actually spend with this person? Is there a product and service that they are a gatekeeper of, that this content has influenced me to go and participate in? Let me end right there and let me answer a couple of questions, because that's when I know that we've added some value. So any of the business owners or anybody who didn't even put up their hand who's got a question, hit me.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your name?
Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
I had a big debate with a friend on Sunday because she doesn't want to do...
Say it into this, then everyone can hear you.
Oh, hi guys. So yeah, I had a big debate with a friend on Sunday. She has her own business doing a product. It's a vitamin supplement. And she doesn't want to do social media. I very much side on the opinion that I think that personal brand is very important, and I also think that the brand of the product is also very important. So we had this huge debate. She thinks that she can attain success for her product and her business without social media, without a brand presence. What do you think about that?
Greg, would you invest in that business?
No.
Not at all, right? Yeah, you wouldn't even know what it was. Look, fuck all this other stuff, right? You just got to look at how human beings are. When you're looking at trying to get your nutrition in order, when you're bloated, when you're like feeling low and you're like, Jesus, why does my knee hurt for no reason? And you start putting those symptoms together in your mind, where do they go to next? Google. And Google is the dad of who? YouTube. And that's where you get the nutritionist that comes up and says, hey, are you feeling abnormally tired? It could be low vitamin D. So now you start searching vitamin D. And you might put on your Instagram, hey, does anybody know of any good vitamin D supplements that I can get here in Dubai or wherever you live? And somebody along says, yeah, I've got this brand. Now let's just stop at that scenario. Let's put a fork in the road. Kimberly's got a vitamin D brand. It's a great product. It does exactly what it says on the box. But the person that's recommending Kimberly's vitamin D brand doesn't have an Instagram account to send to the person on Instagram who's asking the question. I know it's not your brand, Kimberly, but just ride with me for a second. That's the point. Why would you go to a country like the UK, for example, saying, I want to be in retail, I want to sell a product, and then not open a store in the financial district in Liverpool Street? Has everybody been to London or Wall Street, some like Wall Street in New York? There's a financial district. That's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the financial district of the internet. That's the DIFC of the internet. There's a few pervs in there and a few recruitment consultants, but you get my point. Instagram is the Shoreditch or the D3 or the Al Cruz, and so on and so forth. So why would you not want to have a presence there? Now, she might know, listen, by the way, I'm going to be super humble right now and explain the one time I got this super wrong. I was on a flight from Nairobi to probably London, and I sat with a guy. Guy was like an alpha, like ripped guy, super fit. You know those kind of people that wear 3 layers and you can still kind of see the cuts on their shoulders? He was one of those. And I was and if you spend more than you're laughing way too much. Check her browser history whilst we're at it, come on. Living that VPN life. Okay, so I'm talking to him, I'm like, listen, I do content, I make content, and everybody needs content. This was like, I was on this plane around 07, 08, 09, so I'm like super hyped on my own shit because I'm years ahead of everybody on content. I'm like, this is gonna be the next thing. And he goes, I don't need content. And I was like, you're wrong. You may be hunky, but I'm smarter than you, and I'm about to prove it. And I said, how can you not have content? What business can you possibly be in where you don't need content? And he goes, I'm a close contact bodyguard for politicians and oil barons. I need nobody to know who I am. I said, okay, fair. But since then, there's not been a single person that I've met that said, I don't need a social media presence. And it doesn't even have to be on social media. A lot of what we do is, ghostwriting for magazines when CEOs speak in magazines, or if there's like a very powerful person who's going to do a keynote in front of some sheikhs and some royal people. They want to make sure that their words are right. We also help on that. We do the training. And if the budget is there and it's appropriate and you've maybe not got the internal resources from a human perspective, our agency also services the 4 Ps of content as well. We actually plan your content, produce it with these cameras, publish it online, write the copy, and then promote it, do partnerships, things of that nature, help you push it out via email, as well as, I'm just giving examples of here of things that go beyond social media. Any other questions?
Hi Raj.
Hi,
I'm Vicky.
nice to meet you.
I'm in social media myself too.
Mhm.
Social media freelancer.
Mhm.
Started in September 2020. Fairly new to the market.
Yeah? Do you want a job?
So, sorry.
Do you want a job?
Depends.
Okay. I'm sticking around, we'll have a chat. Yeah.
Sure. My question to you is, you've been around the block for quite a long time. Where do you see, because social media is going into phases, where do you see social media going, you know, with the platforms that are available? Are they going to be saturated at some point? I mean, what's the next thing? What's going to be next? I mean, do you kind of have a view over it, or do you, I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. So, when it comes to social media, everybody remembers that there's definitely a few people in this room that remember this time, and that I can see clearly there's also not. There's a time where when we used to go on the internet, there was one computer in your house, and you go to that computer and you access the internet. Then we went from one computer to two computers. Then we went to laptops, and all of a sudden we started getting very mobile with the internet. We could put it in our bag. Those laptops got lighter and lighter, and then fast forward, smartphone, iPad, watch. I say that to say this, which is that the way that we access where social media lives, which is the internet, has increased. But there's only so many external touch points where you can access the internet. And the big tech companies know this. Samsung knows this, Apple knows this, Facebook knows this, Meta. A lot of these big actors and big players know this. So what is the next paradigm? If Web 1.0 was us arguing over who uses the computer so we can do our homework, Web 2.0 was the mobile phone in our pocket, there's not many more touch points that we need. I mean, you can have a smart fridge, but it starts to get less practical. Now we're going inside the internet, physically into a space where, as opposed to the phone being 1/80th of what I see when I put it in front of me, that screen goes all the way up to your eyes. And everything that your eye sees is being presented to you by the internet. Now, there's somebody who's going to speak to you about it, so I don't want to steal their thunder, but that's known as the Metaverse. So when we look at the universe, which is everything that we don't know beyond that cloud, the Metaverse is the equivalent, but inside a connected device. And there will be places where you can go using things like NFTs, tokens, and access to venues like this. There'll be the equivalent venue of this, where you'll be able to do something like this. You'll be able to have a conversation. So we are going into the internet environment. And the way that we go into the internet environment is it takes more control over these eyeballs and the ears. Because here's the weird thing. The internet, once it covers just this area and this area and this area, you're basically in it. And there'll be gloves where you can touch, but once your senses are completely covered, you are now in the next version of the internet. And it sounds weird, but it doesn't sound any weirder than a piece of paper coming out of a telephone with a message on it, which was the fax machine, which was only like 11 seconds ago. So that's where it's going to next. And will there be unintended consequences? Yes. The guys at Airbnb just did an interview, and they were like, we didn't make Airbnb so that people would use Airbnb to get villas and have orgies. But it happened. Because once you have 100 million people on Airbnb, see how the laughter went over there? You sound innocent now. You sound very halal compared to that cackle. So that's where we're going next. There will be unintended consequences. If you are genetically predisposed to anxiety and depression, you might want to take baby steps into the metaverse, and you might want to care for those who you know have that same situation and not jump straight into it. You've got other people like me that are techno-forward that are going to be leaping in with both feet and trying to figure out as we go along. So that's where we're going to next. And inside the metaverse, if there's any media types in this room, we just call that quote-unquote inventory. If you put a poster on the end of here, a fireproof one, that's inventory. If I put a logo here, that's inventory. Billboard, Sheikh Zayed Road, inventory. When you go to the bathroom and you see the roast offer on Sundays, inventory. But that inventory is piecemeal. When you're inside the metaverse, the whole sky could say Cadbury's. And if you look at it for 11 seconds, when you take the glasses off, when you go to Spinneys, now that Cadbury's chocolate is 50% off for you. sounds kind of weird, and I'm not entirely sure that that will be the use case, but I'm trying to give you an example of what the use case could be. One more for any more? I'm sticking around. I know I was late, but I'm going to kick it with everyone and tape. Is that Natasha over there? What's up, Canada? How you doing? Nice to see you in person. What about truth? Truth's going to be as valuable as it always was, which is like caveman, right? If I come up to you as a caveman, I'm like, I got a dead deer in the cave. Maybe I'm lying, maybe I'm not. Truth is truth is truth. There's more ways to bend it, and there's more ways to manipulate it. And what's going to happen, here's my belief, and I can't stand on this in any kind of empirical way, but I believe that as human beings, one thing that we can rely on over time is our own truth detector, our own bullshit detector. We're now at the stage right now where when we get an email from Rack Bank or Emirates MBD being like, you know, someone tried to transfer 2,700 dirhams into your account, but we just need your PIN number to release it, we adapt. And unfortunately, a teenage child might not, and an elderly parent might not. But in the middle, you've got that common sense where the same people that are coming up, the bad actors as we call them, the people that are coming up with nefarious ways of using the internet, they're always going to have a counterpart. We will never be without it, but we will never be in a situation whereby, like, you know, the internet's ever going to be a truly safe place. And we've seen how bad it can get, right? January 6th last year, and other examples like that.
If you were promoting your business or a product right now,
yeah,
you're going to go double down on either a podcast, a YouTube channel, or invested into like your Instagram.
Yeah.
Publicity. Like, where would you go right now, given what's...
If you're going to invest in content right now in your business and even for your personal brand, I'm going to give you the blueprint, the exact way to do it. Here's how you do it. You make a long form piece of content, which means forgive yourself and say whatever you want to say for as long as you want to say it. Video it with your phone, because I'm telling you, the phone that I have in my pocket right now is more powerful than the camera that I was using in Los Angeles 15 years ago. That's got high enough resolution. If you can get a bit of sunlight on you, which isn't too difficult to source in Dubai, even better. Speak. Once you speak, that's your podcast. If you want to season that dish with an intro and an outro, hi, my name's Natasha, welcome to, and at the end you say, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast, leave us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, give us a like, leave us a comment, you can do that. Hit the notification bell, you can do that. But fundamentally, if you just say, hey, this has just happened in my industry, I want to give you my 2 cents on it. That is your first piece of content. From a technical media point of view, it exists in visual form. We talked about this before. Plan, produce, publish, promote, produce is visual. And when you put that content into a video editor, even one on your phone, there's an export function that allows you to export it as MP3. Now you've got your video, which is video and audio, and you've got your MP3, which is just audio. Your audio goes onto a website called Anchor.fm, and Anchor.fm will send that to Apple Podcast and Spotify and the hundreds of millions, if not billions of users that are on those networks. The other video you just put on YouTube, and if it's under 15 minutes, you can stick it on other platforms as well. Under 10 minutes as well, you can put it on IGTV, and just focus on saying what you want to say and distributing it. Because what you've then done is you've got a higher yield from one piece of content. Produce once, distribute in 2 or 3 locations. Now here's where it gets super interesting. Either your instinct or people will tell you, I really like the bit when you said, and let's say this was a podcast, which it's going to be. I really like the bit when you said, I would not get a tattoo because I'm too much of a pussy, but here's what I would get, water inside the plant pot. If that becomes something that resonates with people, whether your instinct tells you or the people tell you, you then take that out, you edit that bit out, you make a separate video of just that bit, you put the point above, which is why I always water inside the plant pot. With water inside the plant pot in speech marks, so someone goes, clearly that's an analogy for something else. And at the bottom, you put your subtitles so that when the person who's watching it on the toilet doesn't want the volume up, they can just consume what you're saying. Now, from one piece of content, you've gone 1 long form, 1 audio. There might be 3 micro pieces of content inside there. From 1 piece of content, you flipped it into 5. And if some of those pieces of content happen to hit the algorithm, which is the piece of code that's on the software that's your social network that decides how many people see your content, then that could go even crazier. I'll give you a real example today. The algorithm on LinkedIn for video is very, very generous. 3 or 4 years ago, if you put a video out, maybe only 7 out of 100 people would see it. But now LinkedIn is fighting an attention war with all the other networks, so they might bump you up to 20 out of 100 people. TikTok, the same. Instagram, not the whole Instagram universe, but Instagram Reels. If you put a 59-second video on Instagram Reels and you put the same one on IGTV today, Reels will outperform. And you don't need to have hardcore knowledge to figure that out. There's a website called later.com, which speaks a lot about how the algorithms are currently working. Or you just DM me at Raj Kotecha, and I help people for free all the time. I help a disproportionate amount of people for free versus who we actually charge. I do a lot of this. Here's the ultimate hack. At Raj Kotecha, open the DM, send a voice note, say, this is what I'm going through, this is what I need help with, this is what I need clarification on. I will do the same and send you a 1-minute voice note back, and it will work for you. I'm super big on community. Has anybody in this room heard of My Friends, Your Friends? Yeah. Okay, so that's one of our communities, 4,000 people. We started off in a room just under 5 years ago, 12 people, 12, 15 people. They invited their friends. We did it again. Fast forward, we're now 4,000 people. All of those people are constantly asking me, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I just love to give the information away. I'm out of pocket today paying for this video to be made so that I can scale this out to as many people as possible. It just shows you how easy it is to make content. When I review this, if I see 5 or 6 pieces of micro content, they will start showing up on my Instagram and on my TikTok in the coming days. And guess what? Here's where it gets even more interesting. Because Greg texted me and said, yo, can you come through and do a talk for me? I'm going to be adding Greg in all of my comments. This is an event I spoke to for my boy Greg. So now people are going to be curious and be like, who's he? Then they land on his page and they realize that he does wealth management and all that good stuff. And now he might get a deal off it. So now we've entered that kind of collaboration space. And you too, of course, yeah. DM me, I'll add you, and then I'll tag you too. All right, any more questions for any more questions? Are we all good? Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your attention.
Mate, that was absolutely unbelievable. Thank you very much, Raj.